Lewis, can I get a picture? Lewis.
Lewis Hamilton and Kim Kardashian have spent the better part of 2026 rewriting the rules of what it means to be powerful, and somewhere between the roar of a Ferrari engine and the hush of a Broadway theater, the world's most watched couple quietly became its most fascinating. He is a 7-time Formula One world champion, a knighthood recipient, and one of the most decorated athletes in the history of sport. She is a law school graduate, a Broadway producer, a criminal justice crusader, and a cultural institution who has somehow managed to remain the most talked about woman on the planet for 2 decades running. Together, Lewis Hamilton and Kim Kardashian are no longer just a romance built from the tabloid speculation of early 2026. They are something far more interesting, far more layered, and far more difficult to look away from. When Hamilton showed up at Kim's Broadway show, hand in hand in early May, it was not the gesture of a man simply supporting his girlfriend. It was the gesture of a man who genuinely believes in what she is building, who sees in her ambitions something that mirrors his own relentless drive to be more than what the world first assumed he could be. Kim Kardashian's pivot from reality television royalty to legitimate Broadway producer was not supposed to work this cleanly. The critics had their knives sharpened before the curtain even went up. But then came The Fear of 13, the harrowing true story of Nick Yaris, a man who spent more than 2 decades on death row for a murder he did not commit. A production starring Adrian Brody and Tessa Thompson, directed by a Tony Award winner, and produced in part by a woman who graduated law school after 6 grueling years of study, and still has the California bar circled in pencil for 2027. Kim did not stumble into this world. She crawled toward it, failed publicly, was mocked openly, and showed up again. She passed the baby bar on her 4th attempt. She sat with the wrongfully convicted. She walked into the White House twice, once under Trump, once under Biden, and walked out with tangible results for real people serving sentences they did not deserve. The Fear of 13 was not a vanity play. It was a statement, and the theater world, begrudgingly or not, stood and listened. Hamilton has watched all of it with an attention that people close to him say borders on awe. Those who know the 7-time champion understand that he does not attach himself to people or projects that are merely glamorous. He is drawn to those who are doing genuine work in the world, those who are building something with more weight than a headline. His own journey has long been about more than racing. He has used his platform to speak on racial inequality, environmental causes, and the kind of structural injustices that rarely find their way into the sports pages. When he first sat beside Kim Kardashian at the Super Bowl in February, analysts tried to reduce the pairing to aesthetics, to clout, to the mathematics of combined net worth. But Hamilton, according to sources close to the couple, has spoken privately about Kim's legal ambitions with the kind of reverence he reserves for people who have earned it the hard way. Not the people handed platforms, but the ones who built new ones from scratch. What makes their story so impossible to put down is not just the romance, though that has been compelling enough on its own terms. It is the collision of 2 reinventions happening simultaneously. Hamilton, now racing for Ferrari after his seismic move from Mercedes, arrived at Maranello carrying the weight of expectation and the hunger of someone with everything left to prove. Kim arrived at Broadway carrying a legal pad and a decade of being told she was not serious enough, not credentialed enough, not the right kind of person to care about justice. Both of them have spent their careers transforming the limits of what the world was willing to believe they could become. And somewhere in that shared architecture, a connection appears to have taken root that is harder to dismiss than either of their individual transformations. Their public timeline this year has been a slow unraveling of precisely the kind of story that people claim they are tired of hearing, only to keep reading anyway. The Cotswolds, then Paris, then the Super Bowl Jumbotron, where a lip reader claimed Hamilton told Kim she would be meeting his mother soon. Then Coachella, then the Met Gala, attended separately, a detail that felt like its own kind of intimacy, and then the Broadway theater, where Hamilton reportedly held her hand as they stepped out into the night. These are not the photographed photo opportunities of a couple managing the narrative. These are the breadcrumbs of something real, dropped inconsistently in that obvious strategy, which is precisely what makes them so convincing. Kim Kardashian's late father, Robert Kardashian, was a prominent attorney whose work on one of the most famous criminal trials in American history shaped his daughter's earliest understanding of what the law could do. and what it could protect and what it could destroy. She kept a photo of him at her law school graduation. She dressed her youngest son as a lawyer with a briefcase at the celebration. The emotional lineage of this journey is not something that can be performed. Hamilton, for his part, has never seemed more settled, more emotionally available, more willing to let the world see him in a domestic frame than he has during these months alongside her. The man who once kept his personal life locked behind the paddock gates has been seen at her show, at her events, living a version of life that looks remarkably like contentment. Together, they represent something the culture rarely gets to witness cleanly. Two people at the absolute apex of their respective worlds, choosing to evolve rather than protect what they have already built. Kim Kardashian is not done. She still has a bar exam to pass, a legal drama to star in, a criminal justice movement to push forward, and an entire act of her story that has not yet been written. Hamilton is not done either, not by a long distance. And if the energy between them is anywhere close to what it appears to be from the outside, the most interesting chapters of both of their lives may well be the ones they write alongside each other.